Hello, kia ora. I'm Philip Duncan. It is Tuesday the 9th of December. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, on the satellite map today, a lot of high pressure around that is smothering cloud that is trying to move into the North Island. It's also holding back a subtropical low from really coming down in towards us, and to some degree, it's holding back some of the stormy stuff around the Southern Ocean. Now today I've added the key, and I've done that because a lot of people have asked me over the past few months to explain the colors on the infrared satellite map. So you can ignore this bit at the bottom, that's to do with the thunderstorms, the lightning out at sea here. But this top part of the key shows the temperatures. And so the great thing about the infrared satellite versus the visible one, where you're just looking literally at the clouds and taking a photo of it, this breaks down the layers a lot clearer and shows you where you've got high cloud, which is in the yellow, and up here to the north. Now, if you then add on the air pressure, you can really work out what sort of clouds they are. So here we've got high pressure and high cloud coming over the tops of the Southern Alps, so unlikely to be producing much in the way of real wet weather. Up here though, low pressure means that those clouds are much bigger, much thicker, and contain rain. So you're seeing in the yellow and the gold, minus 50, minus 75 degrees Celsius, so really high up into the atmosphere. Whereas the blues and the grays, you're dropping right down here. And so some of these areas in the grey, where they've just got a bit of low cloud, that's not in the freezing territory, that's just a little fluffy cloud that goes over your house. So the grey is not usually producing rain, but where you see the bigger, darker clouds, or the brighter clouds, I should say, that's where you're more likely to get heavy rain. So this, on top of the air pressure maps, helps to break down exactly what sort of clouds you're seeing. And with all the high pressure around the South Island, plus a northwesterly wind, high cloud is usually dry. Whereas when you see those clouds high up in the atmosphere with low pressure, you know that those are big, thick clouds, heavy rain associated with it. So with all the high pressure around New Zealand, that subtropical low, the easterly flow along here, just shredding that low pressure system apart. And so it breaks down. Even though it looks ominous, it is falling apart. And it's a similar story to some degree with the storms to the south. The other thing I want to mention is this map here sums up where New Zealand is at going through this month and starting off summer, halfway between the equator and Antarctica, where we're going to see subtropical systems affecting northern New Zealand, subantarctic systems affecting southern New Zealand. And so those in the middle are kind of getting a messy pattern, a bit windy at times, not necessarily raining, and it feels more like spring, but with summer temperatures. So here are the temperatures. Speaking of them, summer temperatures today, spring-like temperatures on Friday. So this is quite an interesting map because it sums up the hot weather we've got at the moment, coming through at the moment with the northwesterly winds, the westerly winds, helping to boost those temperatures up into the upper 20s, getting around 30 degrees again in some areas, particularly perhaps around the North Island. Not so warm on the southern part of the west coast. You jump to Friday, southerly wind all the way up New Zealand, and so Waikato Bay are plenty feel the heat a little more with that setup, sort of like a reverse nor'wester for them because you have clear skies. And further to the south, lots of blue around, so that is below 10 degrees. That'll be mostly higher elevation and in the mountains, but you get the idea. It is not a warm Friday in some areas as that southerly change comes on through. And a big thank you to Predict Wind for those maps. You can find them for free in our app and on the Weather Watch website. So here is the rain map for Wednesday. Now today's maps, all of them, are different because they show 24 hours of rainfall, not just the snapshot at lunchtime of the rainfall. And I'm doing that because, first of all, we don't have much rain around New Zealand. Second of all, we've got big systems to the north and the south, which are kind of, you can sort of see how much rain they're producing when you look at a full 24-hour map. And I don't usually do this for New Zealand because we have so many showers for most of the year that New Zealand's almost always in this kind of blue shading and it looks very wet when it's not. But you can see how dry it is. Maybe a couple of afternoon inland downpours and then some rain arrives around Fiordland, a little bit into Southwestland and maybe Southland and Stewart Island. Polar boundary is close to you, so that's where we're starting to get closer to that change at the end of the week. Starts really on Thursday afternoon. So we've still got high pressure in the New Zealand area, but not over us. One high is out here getting close to Tasmania. The second high well east of the Chathams. So that is going to pull down this humid subtropical airflow into the northeastern corner of the North Island with some cloud, maybe high cloud thickening up in some areas, but that low is falling apart due to high pressure on either side of it. At the other end of New Zealand, the Tasmania anticyclone is helping to dredge up this colder airflow. So we may see a few showers, a couple of those heavy around the South Island on Thursday, but you can see that colder airflow comes in. Now we jump to Friday morning, and I've done that because it sort of shows the peak of the polar boundary over Southland, Fiordland, Otago, and Canterbury as well. And that southerly flow going all the way up the country, that's why your temperatures are down on Friday. And it's thanks to this high that's rolling in towards us, dredging that southerly up first of all, and still making that subtropical low fall apart. So we've got a few showers in the east. Most of the rain is around Southland and Fiordland and slides up the west coast to some degree, although if the winds turn south to southeast, the west coast is usually quite sunny in that setup. So we have a temperature drop going into the weekend, but it doesn't take long for it to disappear. So Saturday morning might be a little cool around the South Island. Afternoon downpours then start to form once the heat kicks in. And we've also got some showers coming around here, possibly into the Western Bay of Plenty, Eastern Coromandel, Great Barrier Island, the Bay of Islands, those areas going around this anticyclone. Remember, this is 24 hours of rainfall, not just the snapshot at lunchtime as we normally show you. This is 24 hours from lunchtime Friday to 1 p.m. Saturday. So not really seeing much in the way of rain. The blue below 5 millimeters. Now up in the tropics, here is that tropical low that we're monitoring on Saturday right over the top of Vanuatu. It is still looking like it could become a tropical cyclone, and when we go to Sunday, you can see why. But perhaps the good news here is that it might be short-lived and out at sea when it goes into the cyclone area, moving away from Vanuatu, yet to come into Fiji. High pressure over the New Zealand area, expanding right up. Apologies, the animation has stopped here, but it goes right up into the tropics. So that is part of the reason why this cyclone's a bit borderline. It's running into high pressure because the high pressure zone's going right up into the tropical boundary. So that is worth monitoring. But for now, this low looks like it's going to drift towards Fiji, Tonga. Whether it's a tropical cyclone or just producing some rain and thunderstorms, we still need a bit more time to lock in. So we'll have more information about that in our video update tomorrow. And then our final map here, animates at the end, typical. Final map here for Monday. What a difference. See, this is what I'm saying. Our summer, we're in the middle of what is happening in La Nina weather or La Nina world to the tropics and the Southern Ocean storms. And here's a really good example of that. Tasmania hit by a wintry blast next Monday. New Zealand, windy, hot nor'westers, subtropical for some areas, but the further south you go, the lower those temperatures will be. Heavy west coast rain. Fairly dry in the North Island, but you do see a few showers there. Again, 24 hours of rainfall, so it's not very much unless you get a thundery sort of fall. Dry and hot in the east with those windy northwesterlies, but that is a sizable storm. The air pressure is quite low, but the size of it stretching from Antarctica right up to Tasmania, Victoria, coming into the South Island. This is this unsettled weather pattern that we get in December. That's why quite a few of our viewers here go by the astronomical dates of the seasons, which means we're still technically in spring, which makes this weather map look far more normal, if you put it that way. So it depends on how you view it. But yeah, we're still seeing a lot of our weather mostly driven from the south of New Zealand, westerly winds dominating us. And while we are seeing life to the north, for now, it is not really affecting us. That's all from me for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you again tomorrow, Wednesday, with our next New Zealand update.